Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with ATBBQ.com, and this is Savory Herb Roasted Turkey. Today I want to share with you guys one of our most popular turkey kits, the Savory Herb Turkey. Now this combination of lemon thyme turkey bath with the Ranchero seasoning has been a hit for years, so today we're going to apply it to a roasted spatchcock turkey. Now what exactly does that mean? Well, roasted means we're cooking it at a higher temperature than smoking. For us, that's 350 today. And spatchcock just means we're taking out the backbone. This allows the bird to lay flat, cooks more evenly and much quicker than a whole bird. We're starting with a 14-pound turkey, and I love these smaller birds. They cook so much quicker, I'd rather cook 2 of them than 1 big one. To spatchcock this bird, we're just gonna find one side of the backbone and cut right up to the top. A good pair of kitchen shears will get you there. When I get to the top, I'm gonna flip it around, find the other side of that backbone, and go right back down. Now once you've got that backbone out, what I like to do is come over here to this breastbone, little snip right there, pop it open, and now it's ready to lay flat. A little pressure on the breast right here. Okay, now we've got these legs that are sitting down low, they cook slower, and these breasts that sit up high, we want to make sure that the finishing temperature in here is about 20 degrees lower than it is in here. Now there's a lot more work you could do to this. You could trim a lot of this stuff out ahead of time, but the truth is you don't have to, so today we're not going to. I'm just gonna cut off any of this like excessive skin or fat that we're not gonna eat anyway. The other thing I like to do is I'm gonna try and get in here in between the breast meat and that skin, and we're gonna open some of this up so that we can get some of that seasoning both from the brine and then later from the rub underneath the skin and directly onto the meat. Next, we're gonna get into this brine. And like I said, we're using the Sweetwater lemon thyme turkey bath. That combined with the Ranchero is our Savory Herb Turkey, and that's one of our favorite kits. We've got lots of kits though, you can check all of them out. They combine flavors, some of them combine tools. It's all in one spot. Now, this stuff's super thick and concentrated, so we're gonna water it down with about 1 gallon of water as well as adding some salt. 2 bottles will get you 1 bird, but it'll also get you multiple birds. Once they're spatchcocked, they fit a lot easier into 1 bucket. So we're adding 1 gallon per bottle. I wanna make sure I get all of that goodness out of there, so we're just gonna rinse this before we dump the water. Add in the rest of that water, and we're gonna do 1 cup of salt. And I'm using kosher salt. That does make a difference. You wouldn't wanna use table salt in this instance, or it would be a little bit too salty, unless you reduce the amount. You don't have to heat this up. All you gotta do is whisk it to dissolve the salt. We're gonna drop this down into the briner bucket and then use our locking plate to make sure it stays submerged. I recommend you brine 1 hour per pound, so a 14-pound bird is gonna go for 14 hours. We're ready to pull this bird out of the brine and get it seasoned up. All right, I'm gonna throw this into the prep tub to make things clean. There's gonna be a lot of extra moisture here, so we're gonna soak that up with some towels. And as always, the drier you can get the skin, the better. Helps to dry out so it's not so soggy at the end, especially if you're not drying a bird out overnight before cooking it. So now we can use whatever's left, still that liquid that's still on the surface can kind of help to bind our seasoning to the rub, or to the meat I should say. And those spots where I've pulled back the skin a little bit, I'm gonna make sure I sneak some of that seasoning underneath the skin and onto the meat, just to add the extra flavor. The seasoning we're using today is the Cattleman's Grill Ranchero. This thing goes great with lemon thyme, our brine that we just pulled it out of. This has been a great combination for years, so we're sticking with it. So we're getting that on top of the skin, and then also, just like we did on the other side, we want to go underneath the skin in those places where we've pulled it back a little bit. You can work that rub right onto the meat there. Now we'll give this one more touch up before we get it into the smoker, but let's first get it transferred to the pan. You want to get a sheet pan lined with foil just for easier cleanup. And I love cooking a spatchcock bird on a pan because it catches all of those drippings and juices in the bottom that you can use for gravy or run your slices back through. Plop that bird down. One more shake. Today we're cooking on the Yoder Smokers YS640S pellet grill. We're running it at 350 degrees with pecan pellets. I'm gonna slide this right onto the top shelf, put a probe in here. You wanna aim for the deepest part of the breast meat. That's gonna be the last part to finish. And we're aiming for about 155 internal temperature. Well, our temp has come up to 155 in that deepest part of the breast. This turkey is looking really beautiful. It's got some great color on it. Nice crispiness right here on that skin. That's about all we can ask for. Let's cover it with some foil and let it rest for a little bit. We let the turkey rest for about 45 to 60 minutes, just so all those juices can kind of run back into place. But you can see the juices that did come out have pooled up nicely. And that's great stuff when it comes to making your turkey gravy or just running the slices back through. So slicing this bird up, if you want to carve slices of the breast off of the whole bird just for presentation's sake, you can definitely do that. But one thing I would recommend before you do, you're going to find the wishbone. It's this hard part right here. Slide a knife underneath it and then just slice out toward the end. And then you can remove that bone. And now you've got all of this real estate here where you can be making slices. I'm going to cut right down to that wing and remove it before I start cutting my slices. That kind of frees up some space to cut some slices off of here. Yeah, and those juices have now had time to kind of run back to the center of the breast. It's really glistening, it looks great. But my personal preference is to go ahead and take the legs off first before getting into slicing that white meat. And that's super easy because all that it's attached by is essentially a little bit of skin. And the way I prefer to carve out this white meat is to go right alongside that breastbone and then just take all of this stuff off underneath. You got some rib bones down here. You can kind of pull that white meat out of there, away from the wing. And we can carve this entire thing, slice it up. I just think it presents a little bit better than trying to pick slices off the turkey, but to each their own. To me, that just looks way better on a platter. Now for the dark meat, you're just gonna find that crevice right there in between the thigh and the leg, and if you pop this, you'll see right where to cut in between the two. Could serve the leg whole for one lucky guest if you like. The thigh meat, I love to just shred this into chunks though. Cannot forget about these drippings, the juices. Got a little drizzle of that juice on there. Wow. The citrus hits you first. Love that. The way the lemon works with the herbs is fantastic. That juice is so flavorful. I mean, I'm saving some of that for the gravy, but for sure I'm pouring some over at least the white meat too. There's just too much flavor there to not want to enjoy it with the turkey. I can definitely see why this one's a fan favorite. You guys got to let us know what you think when you cook it at home. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out ATBBQ.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to ATBBQ.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.